All right, hello everyone. This is the 924 and 925 quiz. So my layout is going to be a little bit different than yours. So I did take screenshots of all of the questions and I put them into this app so that I could write as well if I needed to. So our first question says to match the definition with the appropriate term. So let's go ahead and take a look at this definition first. So the set of all rational and irrational numbers, is that real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? All right. We'll go ahead and take a look at the next one. So the next one is numbers that cannot be expressed as a fraction, non-terminating, and non-repeating decimals. So would this be real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? All right, third one down. Numbers used to count, also called natural numbers, such as 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Are these real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? Okay, the next one, any number that can be written as a fraction, terminating, and repeating decimals. Are those real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? Okay, we do have a couple more. Numbers without fractional or decimal parts and no negatives. So no fractions, no decimals, no negatives. Would this be real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? All right, and finally, the last definition we have here is whole numbers and their opposites. And the example is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So again, is it real numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, integers, whole numbers, or counting numbers? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next question. And again, mine is formatted a little bit differently. I had to kind of cut the end off and put it off to the side so I had room. So the directions here say, from the following numbers, select all that are rational. So this all means that it's a possibility there could be more than one. So remember, we are looking for rational numbers. So that means it's a number that can be written as a fraction, and in its decimal form, it either terminates or repeats. So all rational numbers. There could be more than one. And if you're not sure, you could always use a calculator. And if you do not have that TI-34 at home, that kind that we use at school, I would recommend going to Desmos.com, or you could just Google search Desmos Scientific Calculator. Might need that. All right, moving on to the next one. It says to write the number below as a decimal. So again, it's given to us as a fraction. You need to write it as a decimal. And remember, if you don't know how to write it as a decimal, you can put it into your calculator. So I'm not sure how the Desmos one works, but I know on the TI-34 that we use at school, you can put 63 hundredths in, and then you can hit that double arrow button that is close to the bottom right. And if you hit that and then enter, it will give you the decimal equivalent. Now, again, on Desmos, I'm not sure how that works, but if you wanted to hop on my office hours and ask, then we could always figure that out together. Okay. Next question. Determine the length of the missing side. So we have a side that's 8 inches, a side that's 10 inches, then a side that we do not know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight yellow my legs of the triangle. So those are my triangle legs. And then in green, I'm going to highlight the hypotenuse. So remember, the hypotenuse is always going to be C. The legs are always going to be A or B. It does not matter which. So you're going to use that Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, to figure out the length of the missing side. So again, 8 can go in as one of the legs. I'll put it in for A. So we'll say A squared plus B squared. Now we leave B squared as B squared because that's our other leg and we don't know what it is. So that equals C squared, which would be 10 squared. The rest, I believe, you can take from here. So try the rest of that on your own. Finally, the last question tells us to rewrite the number below as a simplified fraction. So in this case, they gave you a decimal, a repeating decimal at that. Now you need to write it as a fraction and a simplified fraction. So you might be wondering, what to use as the fraction bar as you're typing your fraction in. So you can just use that backslash. So let's say I had, now these numbers have absolutely nothing to do with your number here, but for example, if they gave me this and they said, oh, write it as a simplified equivalent fraction, then I would write it as it would be 2/10. But the backslash on the keyboard is going to look like that. So when you type it in, it is going to look like this, and that's okay. That's totally fine. Okay, again, that was just my example. Those numbers have absolutely nothing to do with the one that you are working on. You just need to figure out what that is as a simplified fraction. And then that is the end of the test. So congratulations and have a great weekend. Make sure you email me if you have any questions. And again, I will be available for office hours if you want to meet with me for any questions. All right. See ya.